Are you running out of reasons to discreetly leave the room every 10 minutes during taco night? Do you wish you filled out those jeans just a little better? Do you feel guilty putting your neighbor's kids in mortal danger, driving that last quarter-mile home in a race against time itself? Do you need to weld sheet metal panels edge to edge? If you answered yes to that last question, you're gonna love butt clamps. I've been waiting to make a set of my own for a long time. I mean, I always see them sort of hanging on the peg. I've always considered buying a set, but they look so darn easy to make. And at $5 a piece? I mean, come on. There's no way I'm spending that kind of money when I can make them for 15. I grabbed a little cutoff of some square tubing. Size shouldn't really matter that much. Make them about the size that you think you'll need. A fistful of some wing nuts, and a handful of screws. I'm not sure if I'll use these yet. Maybe look for some slotted screws, that might make it easier. Save us a step. But moral of the story, instead of going through this whole long-winded thing, backstories, explanations and whatnot, let's just make the clamps and use them. They're pretty self-explanatory. First things first though, I need to cut this down into, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 pieces. Let's start with that and take it from there. I've chosen to square these up, not because it's easy, but because it is hard. Sorry, I misspoke. Squaring these up because it's easy. It'll make them look a little bit better. Usually, yes, you can trust the cut straight off of some wire mesh, but I've had that piece of mesh laying around for quite a long time. So they'll look a little bit better, and arguably, I have a few more work holding options for subsequent operations. I'll have square parallel sides if I need them, which I will. I ended up making 8 of these things. These are the bodies for the clamps. Now that they've all been machined flat, square, and parallel to within a billionth of an inch, it's time to add the cross hole for the clamp, for like the screw that will do the clamping. And I need to get that right on center. The way I've been doing it has taken me absolutely forever, so let's just all hop back in the car and drive back to the milling machine. We'll center and drill them there. There's our hole, going right through the part, dead on center, deburred and cleaned up. Now, with all things being equal, and the next step being next, I've got to cut a slot clean through one face. Literally split one face open. I'm sure there are quite a few ways to do that. Cutoff wheel on an angle grinder probably being the easiest and the fastest, but also probably the ugliest. If you're a superficial machinist like I am, prefer to keep up appearances so the neighbors don't talk, an angle grinder just won't cut it. I mean, it will cut it, just not that. A bandsaw might do the trick, maybe with some super fine teeth, but you don't have much to hold on here. It's a small part, it's thin wall. Bottom line, a bandsaw would probably end poorly. A hacksaw certainly would do it, but come on, we're trying to have fun here. Now sure, a nice clean karate chop is always an option, but we're about to split through a closed section of steel tubing. We need to worry about spring back. When we split this open, this part's gonna move. Sure, odds are this will spring open when we cut it, but are you willing to gamble the business end of your karate chopper if this part starts pinching in? At first blush, a big 6-inch slitting saw might seem ridiculous. That's probably because it is. But on second blush, this might just work. In any case, smoke them if you got them. That's what I've always said. And that's exactly what I plan to do. Smoke this milling saw. And that went pretty fast. Couple of advantages here. I mean, first the slot is nice and clean and straight. It's right on position. Just got to get back there and deburr it a little bit. And I can hold onto the parts pretty solid. Not to mention I'm in like the non-springy direction. I'm not trying to squeeze the tube this way. That would close it on the cutter. And my hands are nowhere close to this nonsense. Let's keep on trucking. My only regret is that this machine doesn't have power feed on the Y-axis. How nice would that have been? Maybe I can ask for a new milling machine for Christmas or something. There is Secret Santa coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 8 clamp bodies. Sorry about that. But you know what I'm not sorry about? How they turned out. I'll be honest, I was having second doubts about that mill saw for a minute, but all's well that ends well. Anyway, while you were all staring slack-jawed at the mill, I went ahead and made the rest of the parts. Someone's got to do the work around here. These are the clamp screws, the crossbars, I'm just making these names up as I go along, mind you, and the square-holed sliding sphincter plates. I did pull a fast one on you. I went up a screw size, but I didn't have enough bolts of like the same size, so I used some all thread. If you're wondering why I've been cutting with crimped wire mesh instead of the regular wire mesh, it's to get these slots in the ends of the screws. If for some reason you don't have crimped mesh, no sweat, you can just slot them afterwards. It just adds a step. These slipping, locking square rectum plates were a little trickier. They're just little plates with a square hole in there. Square-ish. At first I considered buying a $300,000 press and then spending another $80,000 on a progressive die, but I only need 8 of these. Like had it been 9, maybe that could have been a different story. And yes, I did try popping them like a leaf. Frankly, I'm a little offended you'd even asked. But with all the coffee I drink, it was hard keeping the features square. So I just turned to the milling machine. I made a little fixture plate, just a little pocket about 15, 20 thou deep, and a couple of screws. This doesn't get me a perfectly square hole, but a couple of licks with a square file cleans the corners up pretty easy. And with that, we're finally at everyone's favorite part of the show, where we try to piece all these clues together to find out who done it. And by who done it, I'm referring to that knucklehead outside running their loud power tools while I'm trying to record a video. This is what we're after. Just a dry fit, but this is how they should look. I'm just gonna kiss the connection in here with a small weld. Really, all we need to do at this point is connect the hip bolt to the leg plate. That's what that slot was for. We'll muscle that in there and just give it a little weld. Hammering is a very quick way of getting rid of any burrs. Also draws the metal out just a little bit. The the thickness of my slitting saw is the same thickness as my stock, as the sheet metal. So it's not exactly a slip fit. So we'll just tack this on both sides, just something to keep it from coming apart. Really, just any weld would be fine. We're not asking that much from the poor clamp. You could certainly do it with stick if you're a little careful. You know, it's some thin sheet metal. You don't want to burn through that. MIG would be totally fine. I just prefer TIG. And on my machine, it's easy to switch, so why not? And if you happen to notice this video maybe feels different, like the timing or the editing, I mean, I'm just curious. Maybe it's just me knowing how the sausage is made. I don't know. I'm editing this video with DaVinci Resolve. Trying to get used to something new just kind of stinks. Adobe's been trying to turn the screws too aggressively, and I've had it like up to here. Sorry about that little rant there. The flying paddle plates are welded. I'm just gonna hit them on the wire wheel, clean them up a little bit, and we'll just put them together. This cleaned up pretty all right. Now if my calculations are correct, One of these slips into here. And then there's a wing nut. But before that, I thought we'd throw in a little washer. Seems like something a smart person might do, except they're the wrong size. I got these nice stainless steel washers before I decided to change the screw size on the fly. So there goes that smart guy theory. I do have these. They're a little bit smaller, but they fit. And then these little square things go in the bottom. You just cinch those up so I don't lose them. That's a mighty handsome little butt clamp. So I got to thinking, I mean, I didn't show you how I cut these little square lugs, but I think most of you could probably put 2 and 2 together. The hardest part of this little build, not really hard, but pain in the butt, is making these square holes. And I got to thinking, I mean, I've always seen them as square lugs, but I don't really see any reason why they couldn't just be round. Just drill a hole, put some little 1/4-inch round stock in there. Maybe I don't know enough about butt clamps to know the difference. It seems like they do the same thing. This screw is also probably a little longer than it needs to be. These would have benefited from being sort of like laid out on paper, do the math ahead of time instead of on the fly. But it felt like if I had more range, that'd be a good thing, like more clamping space. But we'll see these in action in a second. And frankly, I don't think they're ever going to need that much clamping space, like that much range. If this thing opened up max to 1/8 of an inch, it's probably fine. So maybe if you're doing some really curved panels, I don't know. Let me put these together and we'll whip up a little example problem. Let's see these in action, how they work. Even though I'm willing to bet you paused this video and Googled it already, didn't you? These are just some demo parts. You probably wouldn't use butt clamps to butt weld parts this small, or rather this flat. Parts that you could just lay on your bench or your floor or whatever. But you know, maybe one of these parts is a patch you'd want to plug a hole with. In that case, yes, these butt clamps would work great. But anyway, for illustration purposes, we've got these 2 pieces of aluminum in this case that we'd like to weld. This is a butt weld. You'd maybe seam weld it or stitch it or tack it or whatever you need to do, but you need to keep them coplanar. Here we probably only need 2. I'm going to loosen this up a bit. You know what, to make this easier on me. To make it easier on myself, I'm just going to hang them off the end of the bench, but we loosen the clamp. We're just going to slip that in the gap there, the little cross pin in the bottom, and we'll just tighten these up. Pretty cool, huh? That seems pretty self-explanatory, doesn't it? Now, if this part were bigger, or more likely you don't have access to slip them in from the ends, you just take a clamp, loosen it up, pull out the crossbar, and just slip it through your lap joint there. Come into the back, pin it, tighten the clamp up. So here we have nice, flat, coplanar panels. At this point, you'd come in, put in a couple of spot welds, probably either side of your clamp, break the clamps down. Once tack welded, you wouldn't need the clamps anymore, and then just see the weld through. Either stitch it 1 inch every couple of inches or close the whole seam up, depends what you're doing. You'd likely want to back step so you don't open the seam back up, like pump too much heat into it. But I'm getting off topic here. The more cute of you may have noticed something fishy. In order to install these, we required access to the back. And that is kind of a bummer. That's probably the biggest limitation of these things. Like if you use these to put a patch into the 1/4 panel of a car, if you can't get access to the back after the weld, well, I don't know. I guess you're leaving those crossbars inside the body to jiggle and rattle around after you're done. But if you're patching something like a mower deck, these things are really handy. You know, just cut out the rusted, rotted part, make a patch, fit it in, clamp it, spout weld all around. Then to remove the clamps, you just loosen them, reach under, remove that crossbar, while the mower is off, mind you. Don't make the same mistake I made, and pull the clamps free. And you can finish welding, grind it down, paint it. Bob's your uncle, as the saying goes. So maybe my example here is a little oversimplified, but it shows how they work. mechanically. And I don't think it's hard to imagine having to work with like a larger patch or likely a part or something with a compound curvature where it's not easy to get all the edges flush. Clamps like these act like 8 extra hands. So I stare him right in the eyes and I says to the guy, I think that might be the end of our video. I won't insult your intelligence going through the mall, but I'm sure you can see these things have 1,001 uses. Probably literally. That extra one, that's extracting information from your enemies. Or hold on a minute, maybe it was a money clip? Yeah, I forget, but it's not important. Bottom line, sky's the limit. But if you're new to this stuff, go easy on yourself. If you need to join some panels edge to edge, get yourself a few butt clamps and give them a try. See where they take you from there. As always, I really appreciate your company and thanks for watching.